Imagine having a front row seat to one of the most extravagant, most powerful, and now most controversial empires in entertainment history. Imagine being privy to the daily routines, the late-night demands, and the hidden habits of a global superstar. Most people dream of that kind of access. But for one man, it became a living nightmare, a window into a world far darker than any public persona could reveal. This isn't about the red carpet glamour or the chart-topping hits. This is about what happens behind the closed doors, in the most private corners of a celebrity's life. This week, in the bombshell federal trial against Sean "Diddy" Combs, the curtain was ripped back by a man who saw it all firsthand, George Kaplan, Diddy's former executive assistant.
Now let me tell you, getting George Kaplan to testify was no easy feat. This wasn't some eager witness jumping to spill secrets. In fact, when he was first called, Kaplan did what very few dare to do in court. He invoked his Fifth Amendment right, refusing to testify because he feared he might incriminate himself. Think about that for a second. What kind of secrets would make someone so afraid to speak that they'd rather risk the consequences of refusing a federal subpoena? What was he protecting, or what was he afraid would come out if he spoke? But the prosecution wasn't letting him off the hook that easily. Judge Aaron Subramanian, the judge overseeing this high-stakes trial, signed a special order, an immunity order. This legal move forced Kaplan to testify, protecting him from having his words used against him in other potential criminal cases. This tells you just how critical his testimony is to the prosecution's entire case. They believed he held keys to unlock crucial parts of Diddy's alleged empire, and they were willing to go to extraordinary lengths to make him speak. What did Kaplan's life look like as Diddy's right-hand man? He worked a brutal schedule, starting his day around 9:30 a.m., making sure everything from the chef to the housekeeping was ready. He even prepared Diddy's bathroom with toiletries and medications.
And his workday? He rarely finished before 5 or 6 p.m., and he could be working all the way until 7 a.m. the next day. He testified that he routinely worked 80 to 100 hours a week. For that kind of dedication, he was paid around $125,000 a year. But was that enough for the demands of the job? What kind of demands would push someone to work such insane hours? Kaplan's testimony paints a picture of a constantly evolving, meticulously controlled world. He revealed that Diddy even changed his security team in 2015, swapping out his longtime guards for a more professional, highly trained, and polished group. Why the sudden upgrade in security? What kind of activities required a security detail ready for anything? But it's the daily communications that truly opened a window into Diddy's alleged requests. Kaplan stated he communicated with Combs multiple times a day, texts, calls, emails about things Diddy needed. These weren't just mundane requests. He testified that Diddy would ask for clothing or potentially food from somewhere, or drugs or liquor or an iPad or a speaker. Yes, you heard that right. Drugs. This isn't a subtle hint. It's a direct accusation from someone on the inside. And imagine living with the constant pressure. Kaplan testified that Diddy threatened his job almost monthly. Combs would tell him he wanted to be surrounded by the best, and that those around him were not performing at that level. Sometimes it was angry, sometimes it was motivational, but it was always there. He recounted one particularly tense moment. In his very first week, Diddy angrily confronted him face-to-face because Kaplan brought back 2 half-gallon water bottles when the store didn't have the 1-gallon BPA-free bottle Diddy specifically requested. This wasn't just a boss being demanding. It was a glimpse into Diddy's alleged short temper and intense need for absolute control. Kaplan also detailed his role as Diddy's personal fixer on the road. He would travel with Diddy on his private jet, or fly ahead to set up hotel rooms in cities like New York, Miami, and Atlanta. He described a specific ritual. He'd be given a bag to unpack containing clothes, a speaker, candles, liquor, baby oil, and lubricant. After that first time, he would then buy these same supplies with his corporate credit card. He also revealed that these rooms were often reserved under the name Frank Black, a direct reference to the late Notorious B.I.G.'s nickname, Frank White. Why the alias? What was Diddy trying to hide by using another name for his hotel stays? And then came the cleaning. Kaplan testified that after Diddy would leave a hotel room, it was Kaplan's job to go in, pack up Diddy's belongings, and tidy the place up. He understood a crucial part of his role was
protecting Combs' image. He would typically find Gatorade bottles, liquor bottles, and notably more baby oil strewn around the room. But on one occasion, Kaplan testified to cleaning up something far more disturbing: a brown, crystallized powder off a countertop. He didn't know what it was, but he cleaned it up, just in case. What was this mysterious substance? And what did Kaplan suspect he was actually cleaning?
Perhaps the most direct and damning part of Kaplan's testimony came when he recounted 2 specific times he picked up drugs on Diddy's behalf. Once in Miami and once in Los Angeles. Both times Diddy allegedly gave Kaplan cash and a number to call, and Kaplan would arrange to pick up the drugs. One time he picked up MDMA. The other time he didn't even know what the substance was. This is not just a glimpse into Diddy's alleged personal drug use, but an accusation of him directing his assistant to procure illegal substances. George Kaplan's testimony has pulled back the curtain on the extraordinary lengths taken to manage and protect Sean Diddy Combs' image, exposing a world far more complex and potentially criminal than anyone outside his inner circle could have imagined. What else did this executive assistant do to protect Combs' image? And what will his cross-examination reveal about his own knowledge and involvement? The secrets of Diddy's inner circle are finally being laid bare. George Kaplan, a man who once navigated the private world of Sean Diddy Combs with meticulous precision, is now navigating the intricate questions of the federal prosecution. As the 12th witness called to the stand, his testimony carries immense weight, promising to pull back even more layers of the mysterious and controversial life of the music mogul. But for Kaplan, taking this stand was not a choice. It was a compulsion, enforced by the very power of the United States legal system. Earlier in the day, the courtroom held its breath as Kaplan, facing the gravity of the moment, did what few people dare to do in a federal trial. He invoked his Fifth Amendment right. This means he refused to testify, fearing that his own words could potentially incriminate him in future legal actions. Think about the magnitude of that fear. What kind of secrets, what kind of activities would make someone so apprehensive that they'd rather risk the wrath of a federal court than speak freely? It speaks volumes about the world he inhabited, a world where even being a loyal assistant could put you in legal jeopardy. However, the prosecution, determined to unlock every piece of evidence in their human trafficking and racketeering case against Diddy, was not to be deterred. Judge Aaron Subramanian, the presiding judge in this high-profile trial, took a decisive step. He signed an immunity order. This powerful legal document essentially told Kaplan, "You must testify, and your words here will not be used to prosecute you for anything you reveal." This drastic measure underscores just how critical Kaplan's insights are to the entire prosecution strategy. They believe he holds keys to crucial, perhaps hidden, aspects of Diddy's alleged empire, and they were willing to go to extraordinary lengths to ensure his testimony reached the jury. So what did George Kaplan's life look like as the closest confidant and executive assistant to Sean Diddy Combs? His workday was not your typical 9 to 5. Kaplan testified that his day would routinely kick off around 9:30 a.m. His immediate responsibilities were to ensure that the entire household staff, from the chef preparing meals to the housekeeping staff keeping the mansion pristine, were ready for the day ahead. He even had a personal task many might find surprising for a top executive assistant, making sure Diddy's bathroom was meticulously set up with all his specific toiletries and medications. This level of personal service highlights the all-encompassing nature of his role. And the hours? They were nothing short of brutal. Kaplan recounted that the earliest he could ever remember finishing his workday was around 5 or 6 p.m. But the latest? He testified that he could recall working until 7 a.m. the next day. Imagine working from morning till morning. This wasn't an exception. Kaplan stated that he typically worked an astonishing 80 to 100 hours a week. For this level of round-the-clock dedication and invasion of personal time, he was paid approximately $125,000 a year. While that might sound like a significant sum to some, one has to wonder if any amount of money is truly enough to compensate for such an all-consuming, high-pressure, and potentially compromising role. What kind of empire demands this level of servitude from its closest staff? Kaplan's journey within the Combs empire began in 2013,
not directly with Diddy, but as an executive assistant to the chief operating officer of Combs Enterprises. However, his rise was swift. Just about 10 months later, he was promoted to the highly coveted yet demanding position of Sean Diddy Combs' executive assistant. In this role, he reported directly to Christina Coram, Combs' former chief of staff. Kaplan described Coram as someone who essentially ran his life, painting a picture of an extremely tightly controlled environment around Diddy, where every aspect of his existence was managed by a select few. The narrative of control and image protection continued with Kaplan's testimony about Diddy's security. In the second half of 2015, Diddy made a significant change, hiring a licensed security group. Kaplan observed that this new group was far more professional and polished than Combs's former longtime security guards. They also seemed to have a lot of real-time training, implying a higher level of preparedness and skill. Why did Diddy feel the need for such a sudden and noticeable upgrade in his personal protection? What activities, what lifestyle would necessitate such a high-caliber and ready-for-anything security detail? This change raises questions about increasing concerns for personal safety, or perhaps the need to manage a more complex, high-risk environment. Perhaps the most revealing aspect of Kaplan's testimony came from his daily communications with Diddy. As his executive assistant, Kaplan was in constant contact, exchanging texts, calls, and emails multiple times a day. These weren't just about scheduling meetings or booking flights. Kaplan explicitly testified about the types of items Diddy would request. His list included mundane necessities like clothing or potentially food from somewhere, but then with stark clarity, Kaplan added, or drugs or liquor or an iPad or a speaker. Yes, you heard that right, directly from Diddy's former assistant. Drugs. This is not an implication. It's a direct accusation of Diddy allegedly making requests for illegal substances. What does this reveal about Diddy's alleged lifestyle behind the scenes, and how regularly were these types of requests being made? The pressure on Kaplan was immense, and it wasn't just the long hours. He testified that Diddy frequently, almost monthly, threatened his job. Combs would reportedly tell Kaplan and others around him that he wanted to be surrounded by the best, and that those around him at the time were not performing at that level. Kaplan recalled that sometimes Diddy delivered these remarks angrily, and other times with a manipulative, motivational tone. He even recounted a specific, almost unbelievable incident from his very first week on the job. Diddy assigned him to find a 1-gallon BPA-free water bottle at Whole Foods. When the store didn't have it, Kaplan brought back 2 half-gallon bottles instead. Diddy's reaction? He angrily confronted Kaplan, getting very close to my face, for not bringing him exactly what he asked for. This small, seemingly trivial incident speaks volumes about Diddy's alleged demand for absolute control and his intensely volatile temper, putting immense pressure on his staff to meet every single, precise demand. Kaplan's duties extended far beyond the Miami mansion. He traveled extensively with Diddy to various destinations including New York, Miami, Atlanta, Washington, D.C., and Orlando. His role was to ensure Diddy's lodgings were set up properly. This often meant flying on Diddy's private jet alongside him, or, just as frequently, flying in advance on a commercial flight to prepare the hotel rooms before Diddy's arrival. He described a specific ritual. The very first time he was told to set up a hotel room, he was given a bag containing clothes, a speaker, candles, liquor, baby oil, and lubricant. After that initial instance, Kaplan testified that he would regularly buy these exact same supplies, using his corporate credit card, indicating a consistent, specific demand for these items. He confirmed that either Diddy himself or Christina Coram would usually instruct him on these setups, and these rooms were often booked under an intriguing alias, Frank Black, a direct reference to the late rapper and Diddy's Bad Boy Records artist, Notorious B.I.G., who had a nickname of Frank White. Why the alias? What was Diddy allegedly trying to conceal by using a different name for his hotel stays, especially when considering the nature of the items being prearranged? This suggests a deliberate attempt to maintain secrecy and privacy around his activities. But Kaplan's role didn't end with setting up. It continued after Diddy left the room. Kaplan testified that after Combs would check out, it was his job to enter, pack up Diddy's belongings, and tidy the place up.
Kaplan explicitly stated that he came to understand a crucial part of his role was protecting Combs' image. He said, "Protecting him and protecting his public image was very important, and that was something I was very keen on doing." This statement is highly significant, suggesting a conscious effort to conceal certain activities from public view. He typically found empty Gatorade bottles, liquor bottles, and notably, more baby oil strewn around the hotel rooms. However, one occasion stood out. Kaplan testified that he cleaned up a brown crystallized powder from a countertop. He admitted he didn't know what the substance was at the time, but he cleaned it up, just in case. What was this mysterious powder, and what did Kaplan suspect he was cleaning up to protect Diddy's public image? This detail paints a troubling picture of the secrets Kaplan was allegedly tasked with keeping. Perhaps the most direct and damning revelations from Kaplan's testimony were the times he explicitly said he picked up drugs on Diddy's behalf. He recounted two specific instances, one in Miami and one in Los Angeles. Both times, Diddy allegedly gave Kaplan cash and a phone number to call. Kaplan would then arrange to pick up the drugs. In one instance, he picked up MDMA, a known party drug. In the other, he testified he didn't even know what the substance was. This is not just a glimpse into Diddy's alleged personal drug use. It's a direct accusation of Diddy allegedly using his executive assistant to facilitate illegal drug procurement. This testimony directly links Diddy to alleged illicit drug activity, which could be crucial to the overall racketeering and, with these explosive details laid bare, Special Agent George Kaplan's direct examination by the prosecution has now concluded. The jury was dismissed for the day, absorbing every detail of Kaplan's intimate and often disturbing insights into Diddy's inner circle. Kaplan is expected to return to the stand for cross-examination by the defense tomorrow morning. George Kaplan's testimony has provided an unprecedented look behind the glamorous facade of Sean Diddy Combs. From the relentless work hours and the alleged monthly job threats to the specific requests for drugs and the meticulous cleanup of hotel rooms, this witness has painted a picture of a world few could have imagined. What do you think about the revelation that Kaplan had to be granted immunity to testify? And how do you think the defense will try to challenge his credibility, especially given his admission of cleaning up unknown substances? Share your thoughts and theories in the comments section below. This trial is just getting started, and your insights are crucial to the C-Trends community. To ensure you don't miss a single crucial detail of this high-stakes trial, and to stay ahead on all the breaking celebrity news, make sure you hit that subscribe button right now and turn on notifications for C-Trends. We're committed to bringing you the truth behind the headlines as it unfolds, directly to your screen, without the fluff. For a deeper understanding of the complex legal charges, the full extent of the raid's discoveries, or to revisit previous bombshell testimonies that have rocked this case, check out our specially curated Diddy trial playlist. You'll find it linked right here on your screen, or you can simply search for C-Trends Diddy trial on YouTube. We've got all the crucial details you need to stay fully informed. Thank you for watching C-Trends. We'll continue to bring you the most in-depth coverage and analysis of this landmark case. We'll see you in our next update as the defense begins its intense cross-examination of George Kaplan.